I just finished bringing up the rest of the goodies I scavenged out of that Admiral set. Let's see, here's the speaker. Very, very nice condition. It's a permanent magnet speaker, not a field coil. Kind of large too. Imagine I can find a use for this in something. Here is the lower power supply and audio amp. This will give you some idea of how filthy this place was. Yeah, nice. And as with the TV chassis, virtually all the tubes are gone. It seems that whoever plucked all these tubes out didn't care about these metal tubes, because that's this one was left in this chassis, and there's some left in the radio too. It's the audio preamp tube, 6SJ7, but they did take out the 6Y6 audio output tube and a couple rectifiers. So as memory serves, this set has two power transformers. This is for all the tube filaments and I think the higher voltage output, and this is a lower voltage output. So this would be like 300 volts or so, and this is like 150 volts. And there's a 5U4 rectifier and then a filter choke, and this is a 5X5 or a 5Y3 rectifier, and then just a filter cap, and this is the audio output transformer. They use the same design in a number of sets, so again, even though this came from a combo set, I think it's usable in a number of my TV only sets. Here's our grill cloth. I did compare this to my other set that uses the same grill cloth, and the pattern is exactly the same and the color is the same, but the dimensions on this are wrong. It's actually too small. I think it's not as wide as the other cloth, so even though it's in somewhat better condition, it's just not big enough for me to use. But I'll still hang on to it because in general there is no reproduction TV grill cloth available. My camera was freaking out on the focus there for a while. Alright. And finally, here is the radio chassis. So this is a combo set. Had a TV, phonograph, and a radio. The phonograph I did not take. It was really built into the cabinet, and I think it was just a 78 RPM anyways. Just a fixed speed, nothing fancy. Basically a motor and a platter and a tone arm, and that's it. But this is kind of neat. I was quite surprised to see that it has a power cord attached to it. Surprising because so does the TV. I don't recall ever seeing a combo set that had two power cords. So this is completely independent. The TV and its power supply are completely independent of the radio, which not only has its own power cord, it has its own power transformer, rectifier, filter, and audio output transformer. I should say audio output tube, 6Y6 I think. Most combo sets I've seen, or I should say all the other combo sets I've seen, they share the power supply and audio amp. And there's a switch that'll cut usually the filament juice to the TV. That's how my GE802 works. So I'm not quite sure why they went with this design. Maybe because they were mass producing these chassis for their TV only sets, they figured they would just cram it into a big cabinet and shove a separate radio in there and call it a combo set. At any rate, what that means is all I have to do is make a box for this, and I have a radio. It's all complete here. In fact, I guess I could use this speaker if I've had a big enough cabinet. Although I imagine I would need a pretty darn big cabinet to use this speaker with this radio. I think that's at least 10, maybe 12 inch. But it would certainly work with this radio because that's what it was connected to. Here's faceplate. I already took this off and cleaned it up with some Novus. There's a nasty vertical scratch, but surprisingly it's on the inside, not the outside. I suppose I might have scratched it when I was taking this set apart, but I don't think so. Maybe if I'm lucky I can buff that out. But otherwise it's in really, really nice shape. Controls are a little goofy though. On this side we have on-off tone, which is kind of like a lot of Philco radios had that. It was power tone, and then the volume is a separate control. In the middle we've got FM, BC, and PH. So it's FM and broadcast, or AM, and then phonograph. That's why I like this radio, is that it's an FM radio. Well, I shouldn't say a very early FM radio. There were pre-war FM radios, but those used a totally different band. I think it was like 50 to 60 megahertz. What this is a very early modern FM band radio. Mono, because it didn't have stereo FM broadcast back then, but I can certainly use this to receive FM broadcast right now. It's fairly complex as just an AM/FM radio goes. They didn't have a lot of specialty tubes like they did later on in the 50s, where they were really geared towards making small, efficient AM/FM radios. So they had to use more than the usual number of tubes for the FM radio. I've got the schematic. I dug it up in a book from 1947, which predates this combo set, and they just have the info on the radio only, although they do allude to it being part of a combo set. So they must have gotten some preliminary factory info from Admiral or something like that, or this was actually came as a standalone radio and they just used the same chassis. I'm not sure, but anyway, I do have the schematic and servicing info for this, so always nice to have. So it has an RF amp, 3 stages of IF, and then a limiter, and then I think either a ratio detector or a discriminator, and then a preamp and an audio output. So quite a few stages for the FM radio. AM's a little bit simpler. And again, whoever this was didn't realize that these metal guys were tubes, I guess, or just didn't care about metal tubes, so left them all in there. They're pretty good. So this is the one that I thought was a little odd. It's a 6SB7. I don't recall ever encountering one of those before. So I figure it's just one of those tubes that was used in early FM radios, and after that they didn't find much use in anything. There is some evidence that this was repaired. The filter cap on top here is disconnected, and there's a replacement crudely soldered in down there and wired in. Some crappy electrical tape and bad solder joints and bad splices. But I don't think this would take too long to get up and running, so how's about I clip this out, tack in a couple modern capacitors, and replace all the missing tubes. Let's try powering this guy up. Oh, I guess there is one last thing I got. A complete set of knobs, which is always so nice to have. So, got a set for the TV, including the channel knob, which is often missing. A number of the knobs on this set had tape put on them, and on the cabinet there were a bunch of written notes and tape and stuff. I think it was for their favorite radio stations, and why they would have marked these knobs, which are for horizontal and vertical hold and brightness and contrast, I'm not quite sure, but they did. Oh, I see. That was probably to indicate the position, because these knobs are, they don't have any position indicators, so, you know, so as you rotate it, you can tell where you were at. But, on the other hand, I don't know why you would care. Like, this is the focus knob. You know, you just rotate it so you have the best focus. Who cares what the exact position is? Well, and these are the knobs for the radio. So, a couple waffle knobs, and then the center one has 2. So one is the band switch, and the other is the actual tuning, which I'm happy to say does work. More or less. It's stuck right here. I think it's out of whack. Yeah, it's out of whack. There we go. I'll have to do that a little more precisely when I actually tune in the station to make sure the pointer's pointing to the right place.